West Highland Railway grew from difficult beginnings into one of the most scenic rail routes in Great Britain. Taking in spectacular views of the mountains, sprawling rugged countryside, and miles of picturesque glens, what remains of the line between Fort William to Mallaig is nowadays a major tourist attraction. With thousands flocking each summer to take in the vistas from the Jacobite steam-hauled services, the present and future for the line looked decidedly rosy. However, it was not always this way. Understandably, when the idea of building the West Highland Railway came about, many people had strong views about both its usefulness and its viability. It was claimed that such isolated and scarcely populated environments had no need for such amenities. Those living in the highlands were quick to disagree, for they faced lengthy journeys by coastal paddle steamers or uncomfortable rides aboard mail coaches if they were to access the rest of Britain. For them, the link would put them in touch with the rest of Scotland, bringing them out of isolation. Coming just 4 years after their first scheme was rejected, the MBR planned to build the West Highland Railway, branching off of an existing line at Craigendoran and winding through the Highlands to Fort William. Various schemes were proposed from 1840 onwards, most notably that of the Glasgow and North Western Railway in 1880, with the backing of the North British Railway. Their planned route from Glasgow to Inverness and Fort William met fierce opposition, in particular from the various rival companies. The Caledonian Railway was strongly against the proposed line, as they saw it as direct competition on their own territory. With further opposition coming from paddle steamer companies and local landowners, the bill was rejected by Parliament after 8 weeks of turbulent discussion. It was not long before a new proposal was drawn up, again backed by the MBR. Spanning 100 miles, the new route would only affect 5 separate landowners, fortunately all of whom supported the project. The usual opposition reared its head, this time to no avail. A bill was passed in 1889 to allow the building of the West Highland Railway. Before the new line had even opened, the North British Railway had assumed full responsibility for it, replacing the chairman with one of their own. Many critics had predicted this course of events long before the bill was passed, seeing it as quite a dirty trick and an attack on Caledonian territory, as one newspaper reported. Nonetheless, opponents still saw the line as a massive waste of both money and time, as the area it served was so barren. The NBR had clearly done its research, for the population of Fort William were very excited by the railway's arrival, and most turned up to watch the ceremonial cutting of the first sod in late 1889. Building the line proved to be a huge challenge, largely due to the remoteness of the route. Transporting materials, tools, and manpower to lonely parts of the Highlands was a slow process, with some of the cargo having to travel by sea first to Fort William and Helensburgh. Costs were cut as often as possible in the building of the line. The constructors often used long sweeping curves to avoid obstacles that could otherwise be ploughed through to shorten the route. The laying of the rails was completed in September 1893, though the extensive work required to build stations along the line put back the opening of the railway until August 1894. transformed access to previously isolated areas, whilst affording those who lived in the relative wilderness a means of escape. The main problem with the new route was finance. Though it carried a fair stream of passenger and goods traffic, it did not attract enough custom to pay back the expense of construction. The logical solution to the problem was an extension to the line, linking it to a new port on the west coast. By building a terminus at Mallaig, the MBR could reap the rewards of tapping into the fish market. Robert McAlpine and Sons headed the construction, taking 4 years to finish the job, battling across more lonely terrain on the way. The route was opened in 1901. It not only provided the MBR with much-needed revenue, it also provided the inhabitants of the Isle of Lewis with convenient access routes to Glasgow and Edinburgh.